Tonight, the countdown to the shutdown of senior high schools is on, as many of them face acute shortages of essential food items and no funds to purchase perishables to feed students.
If you don't have money to feed your students, what else can you do? The options are many. One is to ask the person you cannot feed to stay away for a while.
We have details plus a simmering feud between the Education Ministry and the Get Fund over how funds should be disbursed. Top story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. My name is Fostina. Sarfo, please stay for details. Thanks for choosing us. Tonight, the countdown is on to the shutdown of schools, as many institutions face the real possibility of running out of food for students. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, says the feeding crisis has hit breaking point, with several schools unable to provide meals due to delays in supplies and a lack of clear direction from government. They warn that if the situation persists, academic work could grind to a halt. Just as final year students prepare for WASI, the situation, they say, is compounding. Schools also have not received funds to carry out crucial practical exams. At the center of the impasse is a standoff between Get Fund and the Education Ministry over how funds should be disbursed, particularly whether schools should directly handle procurement of perishables. With tensions unresolved, administrators say closure is now a real option, as schools can no longer sustain basic operations. Primus Barrow is the secretary of CHAS. He spoke on NewsDesk, my colleague Mamiesi.
We are saying that, this is it's a natural process. It's a natural process. If you don't have money to feed your students, what else can you do? The options are many. One is to ask the person you cannot feed to stay away for a while. One is to say, okay, fine, you stay along, but you cannot be fed. It's possible. There are various options. So we're only saying that we hope we will not get there. I know the stakeholders that are involved, including the minister and Get Fund, I believe, they are all, working around the clock to resolve the issue. We have not received, I must say that as I sit now, we haven't received any form of formal communication to that effect as to whether the issue is being resolved today or not. But what we are just saying that we hope and pray that by the close of day today, we will receive news that the issue has been resolved, so that the calendar, the smooth sailing calendar, will not be affected in one way or the other. That's our prayer. We don't hope to get to a situation where schools can actually be shut down. It's not anybody's will.
Well, the Buffer Food Stock Company says the problem does not emanate from them. Here's Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the company, Osmond Amoah.
You need to connect the right, that is to say, food glut, local entities, procurement framework, benchmarking food safety standards. Ask yourself, do the schools have that capacity to do that? Your guess is as good as mine. NAFCO has structures. There's a procurement framework that goes through the system. There's a food safety standard that vets and validates the food that is gone. Now, with this new directive, what it simply means is that it's an opportunity for us to improve the system by providing ready market on a sustainable basis. We do not have to rely on a disjointed approach to solving food supply. So yes, what we have to do is that the business of food distribution and food supply should remain a function of state. When I say a function of state, that is to say that NAFCO does the procurement and does the allocations, and make sure the schools get the food in the right quantity, at the right nutrient level, and ensure that food flow is sustainable, and that the headmasters would then take the worry of the headmasters, because no student can learn on an empty stomach. I do agree there's a possibility of some infractions. That is to say, some recalcitrant suppliers may delay in supplying, but it's a process improvement. The fact that the water is dirty doesn't mean we should throw the baby and the dirty water away. But we're open to suggestions. It is not accurate to say that headmasters want to close down their schools before cause of buffer stock. Maybe for other reasons, but certainly not because of NAFCO's supply of food items.
You heard there the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, Osman Amwa. Well, there's a lot of things happening and we'll touch base with our correspondents shortly. But President John Dramani Mahama is proposing the current egg glut be redirected to support feeding in senior high schools.
As I speak now, there's a glut in the production of eggs. Poultry farmers are complaining that they can't get a market for their eggs. And so, because of the poultry programs and all that we've done, the supply of eggs has increased. And that's why I've said that we should find a way of getting the school feeding program to absorb the eggs and give it to our children to eat. If we can't sell it, let our children eat the eggs. We are working to resolve these problems, but the resolution of these problems take a bit of time.
You heard there President John Dramani Mahama. Well, let me take you now to the northern region. My colleague Martina Bugri has been doing some checks for us. She joins us live on the phone with more. Martina, what can you report?
So at the Yendi and the Bupa Senior High Schools, we visited there this afternoon with the CEO of the Buffer Stock Company. He was assessing the food situation in these schools. And what we witnessed was that they had all the grains that they needed. They have bread flour, they have oil, both palm oil and vegetable oil. They have tinned fish, tinned tomatoes, among others. But when the headmaster was speaking, what he said was that when you have all these, it makes it easier for you to be able to borrow for perishables. And so it means that their problem will be perishables. But when it comes to the food stuff and any other thing they need to cook for the students, they have.
Fine. Right. We haven't complained about food this year. Yeah. We have enough. Yeah. We have enough. Yeah. And, it's even overflowing. Yeah. So I think that is good effort. Right. At least you have some peace if you are crediting perishables and managing with that, and there's enough food. Yeah. You manage. Yeah. It's better than when there's no food at all. But there's no food. So that one will be double agony. No perishable, no non-perishable. That one double agony. Serious. But at least for the throughout the 2025 up to now, we haven't had any shortage since we started. So I think I commend you for that work. And then it has improved both in quantity and quality. And you know, we had to even increase some of the like bread and other things we were living on certain days. We had to increase the price in order to because there's flour, enough flour, sugar. So all I can say is that to commend you and welcome you to our school.
Well, the Parent Teacher Association, they've also been reacting to this. Let's listen to Gapsin Kofi Raphael. He is General Secretary of the association.
And as parents, we always try to support the school systems to run effectively. So as and when the challenges come up and the heads of schools are bold to engage us on it, our structures at the school-based level hold the bull by the horn and see what we can also do immediately to try to make sure that we can at least support them to run the schools. Besides that, what is beyond us and is purely within the domain of government because we cannot able to sustain it in terms of using our little PTA funds or other resources to support the school systems. We also try to complement the efforts of the CHARS and other bodies to make sure that those who are in charge are able to help resolve the issues as soon as possible. As I speak to you, since Friday, when we picked the signals, we've tried to watch this space to look at what will happen from today. The truth of the matter is that the Get Fund Administrator or the Get Fund Secretariat, they are currently in charge of making sure that whether it is perishables or money for perishables or make sure that there's enough food in the school system to augment and support whatever we need to run the schools. They are purely in charge of it. It is becoming clear that there are areas that the Get Fund Administrator works with the Minister of Education
Right.
And there are also areas that he works with the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
So this is a statement of facts.
Well, let's engage Daniel Fain. He's head of public relations at the Ghana Education Service. We appreciate his time. We'll be right back to have that conversation. We appreciate your time, Daniel. Now we're hearing from Chas. Give us a grim picture, really, of what is happening in our schools. Have you been briefed as GS?
Yes. So, in fact, thank you for the opportunity and a very good evening to our cherished listeners. In fact, what is happening is that there are two categories of foodstuff that are fed our children in schools. We have the perishables and then the non-perishables. The non-perishables are provided by buffer stock, normally supplied by buffer stock. For that, we could confirm to you that we have it in abundance. Schools have their supply, no challenge, no issue. Schools have their food stuff in stock. In fact, and I'm speaking from a place where just last 2 weeks, myself personally, together, I accompanied my Director General, Professor Davis. We made some monitoring in the Ashanti region. So I'm speaking from a place of first-hand information that there is food stuff in our schools. Then we have the perishables. For perishables, because of their nature, because when you keep them for a long time, they may spoil. So because of their nature, we don't keep them for a very long time. For that, government usually gives our school administrators the money for them to procure in markets nearby. It is these perishables that our school leaders have some concerns and engagements have been had. I think since last Friday there have been a lot of engagement. One, to look at how these perishables could be supplied to them, and two, what sustainable framework could be more appropriate for the current situation. I can confirm to you that right now, the money for the perishables have been released. In fact, I have the receipt with me right now as we speak, and these monies have been given to our school leaders, and so we should expect that if it has not hit their account, their school account, by tomorrow or close of this week, they should expect it in the course of this week. In fact, I expect that by close of day tomorrow, it should hit the account, or latest by close of the week, it should hit the account. But
so
I have
how much exactly? How much exactly do we know have been disbursed?
Yes, so I'll confirm the exact figures. But of course, for such figures, normally the school administrators would feed the government with data on the actual number of students they have and all that. All those data are with government, so they are giving money that will appropriately feed the students or be able to procure the perishables for the students. We hope that, in fact, tomorrow it is likely I will come out with a press statement, and in the press statement, the actual figures will be given out. But I can confirm to you that the money that will be used to procure the perishables have been released by government, and it is certain with the Ghana Education Service as we talk.
And this money you're referring to, do we at least know the percentage? Because we've been hearing from Chas, and they tell us they are actually at the verge of closure. And so the quantum of money being doled out would actually be felt depending on how soon that gets to them. And then also the quantum will also determine if they'll go ahead with their closure or still be in school.
In fact, it is the full monies that have been paid to them. So we are looking at the full amount of money to procure their perishables. As I earlier mentioned, the final details will come in the presser, but the monies as Charles is asking for, and of course appropriately so, because they have to feed the students. That money or those monies have been released, and it is certain with the Ghana Education Service. We expect that by close of day tomorrow or latest close of week, they should have their accounts credited with these amounts. I can assure you that schools will not close down because of this, and we will not reach the level where we would have to go home because they don't have the perishables, especially in situations where the non-perishables are readily available. They have their rice, their maize, their millet, and all the other food stuff. We would not record a story where students will they don't have the non-perishables. We will not get to that level. The money is sitting right now with the Ghana Education Service, and schools should expect that the account will be credited by close of day tomorrow or in the course of the week. Yes.
Stay with me, Daniel. I have with me Primus Barrow. He's National Secretary for CHAS. We're just hearing from GS tell us that your money is sitting on their decks and they'll be doling it out to you shortly. How much is it? Primus Barrow, do we have clear connection to him? Well, we're just trying to raise CHAS and find out how much government actually owes them and how much they've received based on communication, because GS tells us that the money is actually sitting on their table and they'll be doling it out to all the schools shortly. I want to find out from CHAS how much government owes them and how much government have told them they'll be doling out to them. Do I have clear connection to Primus Barrow now?
Yes.
Great. We're hearing from GS. Tell us that your money is ready, so you don't have to shut down schools. Do you know how much government have actually allocated for you?
Well, this is, even though earlier on I've had some assurances from my president, Reverend Father Stephen, that he had some information that some monies were paid to school. We are unable to disclose. Of course, he hinted of the amount, which has been confirmed by our PRO. That's about 200 million. I'm unable to tell you the total quantum that the government owes all the schools in the country. Maybe on school-by-school basis, one will be able to do the computation very easily. But in terms of the national picture, I'm unable to give you that particular picture. I just want to also ask, just comment our authorities for working around the clock. Like I indicated to your network this morning, we all were praying and hoping that we will not get to a time or we'll run into a situation where we'll have to advise government or Ghana Education Service, for that matter, to close down our schools. We are only also, at this point, I can only say that we pray, as you rightly indicated, that whatever quantum is coming to the schools should be something substantial. Because like we indicated, we've credited a lot of things in the few weeks that we're trying to manage the system. And what it means is that if the monies that are coming to school are not in large quantities, then what it means is that we are just going to go into our accounts and pass through the other door, out. I can also add again that we just hope that as a collective, GES, GATFund, Ministry of Education, we should be more proactive so that in future, effort should not get to this tense, level. So that parents, workers, the teachers and all of us will always be at peace. So we should have situations and terms where these monies can always, smoothly come to the schools at the appropriate time. Indeed, the Honorable Minister for Education mentioned this particular issue the last time we met him on this money issue. So I hope we'll be able to put in place strategy, because we've learned. For how many years have we not implemented free SHS? So these are things that we should be able to overcome, and they should not be reoccurring as far as the implementation of the system is concerned.
So, Primus, you can confirm to me that schools will not shut down. Is that the case?
Oh, sure. Once we've had the assurance from our bosses that the money is sitting in our accounts, I think we should be able to manage the situation. If tomorrow the money hits our account, why not? We should be able to, manage the situation, and it will be stabilized. We just pray. Again, we pray that this money is good money. It's good money. Thank you.
It's good money, you say, but then how long will it last you for? If you do the calculation with this 200 million that has been allocated to you, how long are you sure that you can have perishables for the students?
So again, that's why I said to you earlier on by indicating that we can only know the reality of our situation after the money starts going into the various schools' account. For example, if it hits my account, I can tell you and I can give you a very good projection our work on, because it will be the same in terms of ratio. It will be the same across every country. I mean, every school based on your population. So it's just a hope. We are hoping that we want to thank them for working around the clock, but we hope that after hitting the accounts tomorrow, we'll be able to tell. It is only that we can comment on as to whether it is substantial or not.
And this has become quite prevalent. How do you propose government deals with this decisively moving forward?
It's the issue of planning and ensuring and negotiating with the Ministry of Finance or wherever, Get Fund, Ministry of Finance, GES, Ministry of Education, working together to make sure to agree on a particular formula. I mean, agree on a way so that we are assured that at certain given intervals, monies will come into the accounts of the school. But it will all rely on this general government bureaucracy of releasing funds to institutions. I'm afraid there must be a conscious attempt between all the stakeholders, GES, Ministry of Education, Get Fund, and Ministry of Finance, to assure us that at certain given times, at the reopening, after a certain time, monies will come into us. That's the only way we can get around it. If that conscious attempt is not made, I'm afraid we'll have this cycle of always, having to complain or make some noise before monies come to us, and that is not good enough. It doesn't help in educational planning and administration at all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Barrow, for your time here on Top Story. Let me wrap up with Daniel. We're just hearing from Chas. Give us a roadmap, how they feel we can deal with this decisively. Moving forward, what's your plan as GS to ensure this issue is not reoccur?
Assurance Ghana Education Service would give to our dear head teachers and our schools is that we are a very listening administration. Anytime there's a concern and they raise with us, why not? We will listen, we will continue to engage. We would also appreciate them for their constructive engagement and for the patience. Indeed, we are looking at prompt release of these monies. And as I mentioned, we would never get to a point where our schools will have a lot of non-perishable food stock, but we would have to close down the schools because we don't have non-perishables. This is not a state or a level we would ever get to. So our schools will not be closed. Again, as I mentioned, the monies that will go to them, as the Secretary kept re-emphasizing, it is good money. It is good money, and they would. It will be substantive enough for them to be able to procure non-perishable. So they should be rest assured that government is completely committed to the free SHS program together with the feeding components of the program, and we will always make sure that supply gets to them in time, and students are fed well, and that they are also taught as well. Let me indicate for the first time here that the fees for the WASI practicals has also been released, and so WASI practicals, the students would have the monies for the WASI practicals as well. So government is very on top of issues, managing the issues very well.
When will they get the money?
All necessary monies are released to our schools for them to continue with their school activities and all that. So schools will not be closed down because there's a lot of food, but they don't have non-perishables. We will never get to that level. And then all other important activities in our schools, including the WASI exercise, would also go on very smoothly.
And for the practical exams, the money, when will they get it?
Again, we expect that by close of day today, tomorrow, or close of week, it should hit the account, because as I talk, it is with me at the moment. So the money has hit the Ghana Education Service. And once I mentioned that it has hit the Ghana Education Service, it means that the money has moved from the Ministry of Finance or from government to the Ghana Education Service. That should mean that the money is with us. And so for the individual schools or for the specific schools, they may have to expect it by day, close of day tomorrow, or by close of week, it should hit their account.
And how much is the money involved? Since you have
let me confirm let me confirm the specifics in our release tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine. Now,
yes.
there's a reported standoff between Get Fund and the Education Ministry over this whole procurement arrangement. Who exactly is supposed to procure the perishables? Based on the briefing you've received, ultimately, who is responsible for resolving this impasse?
In fact, for Ghana Education Service, we are not aware of any standoff. We are not aware of any argument. What we know and what we are aware of is that non-perishables, perishables, foodstuff would get to our senior high schools, and that's exactly what we are doing. And so everybody should ignore any stories about a standoff or argument or debate. It is a government policy, a government initiative, and it is the responsibility of government to ensure timely supplies are made to our schools. And that's exactly what the government does through the Ghana Education Service. So for us, as an implementation agency or body, our duty is to make sure food staff hit our schools or go to our schools. And I can assure you that our schools have food. The non-perishables would also hit their accounts by close of day tomorrow or this week. And academic activities and academic business will continue. Everybody should ignore any stories or issues about standoffs or arguments or debates. If there has been any discussion at all, it is a constructive discussion with CHAS and all other stakeholders about a more sustainable framework, about a more transparent, a more efficient framework for the distribution.
Thank you so much, Daniel Feni. He is the Public Relations Officer, head of that department for GES. I also engage Pramos Barrow, National Secretary of CHAS. My name is Fostina Sarfo. Up next is Newsnight. And tonight on Newsnight, Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy is warning of possible collision in the takeover of diamond mines by engineers and planners, saying the country's mineral wealth risks falling into the hands of greedy political actors.
A state asset should not be subjected to such an opaque process in its acquisition. Why is everyone quiet? And that's a question we are asking this afternoon. Why is everyone quiet? A question for the gods? No.
Details as the Institute also slams government's response to Galamsey and illegal logging as woefully inadequate and damaging in the long term.
Also, thousands of residents in 5 districts of the Volta region face displacement, with more than 100 communities on the verge of collapse in the coastal areas.
Over hundreds of communities within Southton, Angloga, Keta, and if I'm not mistaken, part of Akachi South will also be affected.
Details as Anlo MP Richard Sefe calls for urgent government action to fix the ravaging sea destruction.
Also tonight, bulk oil supply and transportation boss to lose 40 million Ghana cedis from suspended fuel margins as the company wants a major pipeline expansion project could be hit if the suspension extends beyond 4 weeks.
We get resources from the boss margin to bring in all this pipeline. If we lose the boss margin completely, what it means is that we will not be able to replace the existing pipeline.
We have details as the minority insists the 1 cedi energy sector debt recovery levy must go for the margins to be restored.
I've been appealing that the 1 cedi that was added last year on the energy sector levy, the government should suspend that for the meantime.
Coming up in business.
New Bank of Ghana data shows passenger arrivals declined to 18.9% month-on-month to over 110,000 in January 2026.
In sports,
Ghana Athletics president expresses concern over readiness for African Athletics Championships.
And a bit later, a new political movement emerges with the aim of getting MPP's Kenneth Japan to become its flag bearer ahead of the 2028 general elections. The group, called Base Ghana First, says it has prepared the grounds for Kennedy Japan to lead the movement into the next general elections. The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. You can be a part of this show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma Appiah.
Details after this.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks
Thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter, Angela. Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop,
hello, sir. Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones, we keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Live on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me da with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Imagine a place where every child's laughter becomes a song.
A place where we can learn from animals, play and just be happy with mommy and daddy.
A place where hearts grow together. That place is Safari Eco Park. Here, amusement is the joy that unites us all.
Mommy, I can see the emu all the way up here on the canopy wall.
Careful, dear. There is more fun to be had.
This is my new friend. Her name is Stripey, and the wildebeest is Sandy.
Hi, Stripey and Sandy.
With so much amusement like targets and obstacle games, ant caves, fantasy rides, and a vast range of wildlife.
What is this place?
This is an aviary, home to over 400 of the most vibrant birds in the world. The biggest aviary in West Africa.
Wow, the biggest?
Yes, and guess what? Open your palm.
Daddy, look, they are eating from my palm.
That's amazing.
I want to stay at Safari Eco Park. I don't want to go back to Ghana.
But honey, Safari Eco Park is in Ghana.
What?
How much did all of this cost, honey?
350 Ghana cedis for you and I. 250 for teenagers, 150 for kids, and absolutely free for children under 6.
We should have brought the kids here sooner.
I know. Safari Eco Park is only 1 hour drive from Accra. It's unforgettable.
Hello, Ohima. Eti saying.
Ayo.
Na edahin.
Me kwatade.
Edi bensa.
Krachi. Obesuja na so behwem kwem.
Na se jane de wo so ayedan kwan de wo hwem kakra.
Anyway, me kope vitamin B de adwodwo makoma.
What a coincidence. Me so no na me koto, eno na me no.
Hey bra, wait dear wo boa.
Oh, ahon fe minti mi ntwa wo ntro.
Se wara.
Vitamilk no emu de he pa na we ni je.
Me pe Vitamilk banana any choco because I'm black and proud.
Hey, interesting. Me dey me a regular guy oh. So wow.
When you kapao.
So wow. I can see we have something in common. Ohima, yanko try a Vitamilk connection. Wo dey bo me kana metia. Anye bia se kwan down.
Kwan be.
Aha, na muni brebi. Vitamilk di foforo bia be kambusua ne ho aye friend of Vitamilk strawberry. Vitamilk feels good anywhere anytime. This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome to Newsnight. The Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy is warning of possible collusion in the takeover of diamond mines by engineers and planners, saying the country's mineral wealth risks falling into the hands of greedy political actors. The Institute also slammed government's response to galamsey and illegal logging as woefully inadequate and damaging long term. At a press briefing, Executive Director Professor Isaac Woody questioned the transparency and due process in the transition. He says lack of public pressure and civil society scrutiny raise fears of a broader corruption scheme.
Engineers and Planners Company Limited, owned by the President Mohammed's brother, Ibrahim, has been handed the diamond mines through a process many Ghanaians have questioned. We're still trying to find answers to how the contract was awarded. The hurried way the entire acquisition process went through have so much to be desired. Surprisingly, civil society organizations have gone completely quiet about it. Ghana's natural resources are under systematic siege. The evidence is documented, perpetrators are named, and financial and environment damage is quantified. What is the absence in the political will to prosecute? The institutional capacity to enforce and the civil society muscles to compel accountability, the deafening silence from political actors, and the muted response of major CSOs in the face of over 2.5 billion in annual losses, contaminated rivers, destroyed forests, and looming national crisis represent governance failure of historic proportion.
The think tank has also been assessing government's efforts in the fight against illegal mining.
The pattern of enforcement has been selective and superficial. The Galamsey Task Force, reactivated in July 2025, shut down over 150 illegal sites and arrested 300 miners, yet critics uniformly noted that financiers and political backers behind operations were entirely spared. The Forensic Commission Chief Executive Officer, Zahid C.A. Brown, publicly named political interferences as a key barrier to enforcement, yet no political response followed. CSOs remain underfunded, increasingly dependent on foreign aid that has not been cut, and without the institutional backing needed to move from advocacy to accountability. If this government does not act decisively, no one is safe. Yet LI 2462, the legislation granting the president power to sanction mining in forest reserve, remain unrepealed months after the land ministry recommended its abolition.
Let's go into the telephone lines right now and speak to Professor Isaac Buedu, he's the Executive Director of the Institute of Economic Research and Policy. Welcome to the program, Professor Buedi. You've raised concerns about a possible collision in the diamond mines takeover. What specific evidence or red flags have you seen that is making you make such claims?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers, your listeners as well. And thanks for the opportunity. We had a press conference today by the Institute. And we made it very clear that there can never be a decent democracy without the role of pressure groups, i.e., think tank, the CSOs, and the rest. Previous administration, in terms of threat on our natural resources, it's been an age-long issue. The ex-World administration had several issues to deal with among the CEOs, from the CSOs. There was a change in government, and I must say that the horse has bolted, and therefore it's important that we focus on the current administration and the will to protect our environment. So it was a general discussions that we had today, focusing on the threats on our natural resources. And as part of the discussions that we had, we also documented about 15 issues in terms of the threat on our natural resources. And we had to focus also on the recent award of the diamond contracts or the mining to the president's brother. That's the businessman, Mr. Ibrahim. We know his pedigree. We know his contribution to the growth of the business space that we have in our country. And the records are there. And in any day, we support any indigenous business. We would do that in any day. Just as we have done months ago, that we should give space to our indigenous business people to support the growth of our economy. So we don't have any problem. But you and I will testify that any time contracts are awarded, several issues are considered. And in the media space, and documents that we have perused or gone through over a period, it tells you we only challenged or had issues regarding the opaqueness of that particular contract and the fact that an award, a contract of such a business, diamond gold mine, been awarded to this businessman. That was our challenge, and we mentioned it as part of our presentation today. So, if you ask that question, yes, we did mention, and we also raised issues. We were talking about transaction from day one, how the contract was packaged, how it was awarded to the business person, which we think that going forward, we need to be very careful how we also award contract to individuals. So if you ask that question, yes, we mentioned we had a broader discussions today on our natural resources and the fact that a contract has also been awarded to the diamond gold mines, has also been awarded to
Professor Bwedi, don't go yet. I have Pakwesi Shandov. He's a spokesperson at the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry. Pakwesi, welcome to the program. How does government respond to allegations of lack of transparency and possible collusion in the diamond mines transition? Can you outline the due processes that were followed?
Well, Ken, I've actually been struggling to understand why, with all due respect, we are entertaining some of these concerns and conversations still, especially when those who raise these matters have not been able to point out to any inappropriate conduct or procedural misdemeanor whatsoever. A tender process was accordingly opened. 4 outfits or firms expressed interest. Then, based on the criteria that was outlined, a determination was made to that effect. Indeed, the outcome was publicly published in that particular respect. It's been over 2 weeks now, or if I may, 3, and there has not been any concrete indication of wrong. So, really, why are we still on the presumption of wrong done by anybody? I think we should be able to move away from that, because not to sound condescending. I mean, if I were to ask our brother whose outfit held the press conference today, or even yourself, about any evidential wrong done, it would just be the regular perception of the fact that the owner of EMP is associated to the political class, specifically is the president's brother, and that is the only concern, and that is the only conversation. That is the reason we are thinking or inferring wrong. Beyond that, who can point, or who has been able to concretely, without any form of dilution whatsoever, pointed out to the fact that, look, this is the error that was committed in the tender process? Can I ask if there is any? So really, I mean, it was very clear. And just to answer straight to your question, I think I just thought I should express this concerns from the outset. But in terms of the procedures, a tender was opened. 4 outfits expressed interest. Then the first stage was for them to satisfy the mandatory requirements. 2 of the outfits didn't satisfy, so we were left with Heat Goldfields and then EMP. Indeed, the 4 outfits that expressed interest were EMP, Heat Goldfields, Maripoma, and then the other one doesn't readily come to mind. But we moved to the stage where now we had EMP and then Heat Goldfields. Heat, in terms of technical capability, their assessment record didn't surpass the 80% threshold, and therefore they also lost out on that. And so the outstanding entity then was EMP, who was also able to demonstrate financial capacity, based on which the lease was subsequently awarded to them. This is basically the outline of the procedure, and nobody has been able to point out to any definitive wrong. So why are we still on the conversation about what is and what aboutism? I think, Ken, we should really be able to move away from this conversation respectfully.
Let me bring back Professor Bwedi. You also talked about illegal mining during your press conference. We'll touch on that briefly, but I want you to briefly respond to the explanation that has been given by the spokesperson at the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry. Does it suffice?
Yes, I'm surprised that an institution of such magnitude will state publicly that we should move away from such conversations because it's of no value.
I'm surprised by his submission.
Doc, I'm not saying we should move away because there's no value. I'm saying that for the fact that you have not been able to point definitively an error in the process, shouldn't we then make progress?
Pakwesi, please, I gave you enough time to speak. Please let him speak. If you have any rebuttals, I'll give you enough time to rebut. Professor Bwedi, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think I listened to you, so my good friend. Back to our conversation. When the contract is about to be awarded, it's important to consider events before, during, and after. Very important. He mentioned about technical capabilities of the other. I'll come to that. But let me debunk a few things here. Have you chanced on the President Code of Conduct given to the ministers and appointees? Clearly states of some conflict of interest in there. We had a president who had chartered his brother's aircraft to travel to some other countries. We brought that issue up. Ghanaians were not happy. We were told that the brother funded the fuel, the parking, some other component, and it was almost like a free thing. And I said on one of your programs on Joy News that there's nothing free in this world. There's nothing free in this world. And these were events before this contract, if my memory serves me right. So we had someone who, an astute business person, we can't dent his credibility. He's a very serious business person. Now want to get a contract, send his a tender, or submit his request. And we're talking about technical capabilities of the other company. I don't know if the outfit has been able to publish. These are the events during the selection process. Have they been able to publish? I have no chance on those documents. I have not. But then, clearly, you and I'm sure you're a journalist, you might have seen those technical parts we are talking about. How many days did it take to secure funding or guarantee from banks, documentation-wise? Did they go through all the due processes? Yes, the contract is awarded, and you have move away or other institutions could not get. The institution of such, of repute should be able to let us know. But the point is that our institute were not happy. Events before the contract, the selection process took place.
Professor Bwedi, Gemma here. I guess the question really is whether you're concerned about lack of transparency or conflict of interest, which really is the problem here.
No, two things. Conflict of interest and lack of transparency. We think
you
that things could have been done better.
Right. You heard Pakwesi Shandov tell you that this went through a tender process. 4 companies came on board, and eventually it was EMP that won the contract. Why do you still think that there is no transparency here?
I don't know whether you have chanced on the document, the report that came after the selection. If you read that document thoroughly, we as an institute, we have problems with it. And we've articulated our views on that. And I'm sure any Ghanaian has a right to articulate issues. Whether the institution, if they think they don't have any problem in awarding the contract, that is fine. But for us, we feel they should have followed the right procedures.
Beyond this press conference you organized today, what measures are you taking to ensure that there is transparency as you claim?
It's one of the process that we have done. The path we have chosen today In the past, we've had several CSOs, several institutions who have championed such a cause before. And we showed to those who came for the program, several from 2025 to date, we've documented about 15 several press conferences organized. None of them talked about this whole transaction. And we feel that
is
the
that not
definite
because
silence.
there is no cause for concern?
Well, to you, that could be that there's no cause for alarm. That's fine. But we feel that posterity will be there to judge all of us. We don't have any problem, a contract awarded to this reputable, highly esteemed person. No. But I'm sure you and I will know that the processes should have been more thorough than what we have seen.
Prof, don't go yet. Pakwesi Shandov is still on the line with us. Pakwesi, you've been listening to Professor Bwedi. He also spoke about the fact that government's fight against illegal mining has been woefully ineffective. We'll come to that briefly, but I know that you want to respond to the comments he's been making. So briefly respond to that, and let's touch on the illegal mining bit. Hello, Pakwesi. Unfortunately, Pakwesi Shandov has left the line. We've lost him on the telephone line. But Professor Bwedi, as I mentioned earlier, you mentioned that the fight against illegal mining by this government has been woefully inadequate. What concrete policy failures or gaps are driving that conclusion, you'd say?
I can't recall, but somewhere December 2025, our president himself admitted that our own people, party affiliate, traditional authorities are embedded in the Galamsey trade, including his own home district of Bali, where we had the sacred voter. If you remember, we have also had several reports from other experts on this menace. It will interest you to know about the scale of destruction. The Ghana loses an estimated 2.5 billion annually on Galamsey-related smuggled gold revenue. And in terms of the distractions on our forest, it's estimated about between 2.5 billion in annual revenue losses. It's a concern. In terms of our water bodies, about 60 to 70% of Ghana water bodies are contaminated. And it's a worry to you and I, all of us. If a government comes out and tells the entire nation that my own people are found in such a fight against this, can we speak unconcerned? After that statement, tell me the major attempts from the same administration. There's one thing admitting that yes, we have found our own people. Did the president name those people, those individuals? And you can ask several questions about it. We have not seen any major action from this administration since that thing was said. And I was happy when he even came out to say that, yes, our own people have been found in this fight. I mean, still in such galamsey activities. I was expecting that the next day, names should have been mentioned.
Maybe that will happen anytime soon. Thank you very much, Professor Isaac Bwedi. He's the Executive Director of the Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Mine Workers Union is calling on the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofibua, to honor his pledge to safeguard jobs at the Damang mine as engineers and planners officially assumes control of operations. Before we hear from the National President of the Union, take a listen to this report capturing the sweeping and ambitious promises made by the Chief Executive Officer of Engineers and Planners, Ibrahim Mahama, following Saturday's takeover.
The takeover follows a competitive bidding process supervised by the Minerals Commission after the expiration of the Daman lease previously held by the Goldfields Ghana Limited. The government subsequently awarded the concession to engineers and planners as part of efforts to sustain operations, protect jobs and strengthen local participation in the mining sector. During the handover ceremony, Mr. Mahama announced plans to improve transport infrastructure in the area, including the development of an airport and a major road network to enhance connectivity.
We've applied for Damine to have an airport, and Damine, within 6 months, will have an airport such that we can fly to Accra easily from here. In the next 2 years, we'll be able to drive from here to Cape Coast on a concrete road or an asphalt road. I beg you, this is not political talk, this is real talk.
He also says the company is already considering proposals from surrounding communities to develop facilities in the area.
I want to pledge, I want to say it for everybody to hear. I got a text from one of our young men in here. It says we should build astroturfs for all the communities, which we're looking to do.
He also commended former President Akufo-Addo for supporting his bidding process.
I didn't just spring up to say I want to own the mine. Goldfields said in 2022, we're going to close the mine and we want you to take over, but we'll sell it to you. And I said, you can't sell it to me because you've cheated me all these years. So you have to give it to me. So we agreed. They told me to go to government and get a no objection letter. I went in there. And I must thank our former president, Nanado. He gave me a document to sit with Goldfields and negotiate and keep the mine going.
Meanwhile, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofibua, reiterated that jobs will not be lost as EMP officially takes over the mine.
We have ensured that no job will be lost. Every valid contract will be honored and that the mine will run without interruption. By this decision, we have also ensured that a resource governance reset is realized. We are the owners, the managers, and the visionaries.
The takeover is expected to boost local economic activity while ensuring continuity in mining operations at Daman.
We can now listen to the national president of the Ghana Mine Workers Union, Peter Barkun-Wilson.
The word is simple. They always preach virtue and practice vice. As for that one, we still stand by. But that's the reason why I give the minister benefit of the doubt. Because as human, we need to give ourselves benefit of the doubt. So I still hold by that decision that most of the politicians, most of the employers per se, they sometimes tend to preach virtue. But when they get you on board, then the rest is history. But I don't want to believe that. I know the minister, this is belong to the states. So I hope you will not revisit those preaching virtue and practice vice scenario. My appeal to the minister is simple. The other day I gave you my word. And then as an organization, he also respects our role. So my appeal is to see that whatever promise that we have installed out there will still continue. And then we will not shift goalposts when the deal started.
It's now time for business, and Winston Taki is here with the latest. Winston, what's coming up in business?
It appears people traveling into the country, as in January 2026, the numbers have declined by 18.9% according to the Bank of Ghana month-on-month data to over actually 110,000, which is basically the numbers coming in. So, and this is what the Bank of Ghana data is reflecting. The business news of News Nice is brought to you by MTN, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntex Tanks, and Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal.
The other day, Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret?
He said, it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN. Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number one. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, it's a fair strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break when the rain they fall. Still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
Sasso, se come tonton prekon. Sasso, se come tonton prekon. Edrana drami ne buseshe. Ye hakesia ne malaria. Minya me pone me sasso spray. Every mosquito standing run away. Come on tonton prekon. Sasso, mi se come tonton prekon. Come on tonton prekon. Sasso, come tonton prekon. Nani shamne die demo strong.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to the business news on News 9, brought to you by MTN, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntax Tanks, and Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal. My name is Winston Taki, and out of first business story. Passenger arrivals at Accra International Airport increased by 8.7% year-on-year terms to 110 and 87 in January 2026. The Bank of Ghana data has disclosed in its March 2026 monetary policy report. This is up from 101,000 arrivals recorded a year ago. I'm joined in studio by my colleague Pius Kojobaka for more insight from this report. Pius, what does the report say?
Indeed, Winston. However, compared to a month earlier, passenger arrivals recorded at the international airport and the land borders went down by 18.9%. Meanwhile, international trade at the country's two main harbors, that's the Tema and Takoradi ports, as measured by leading container traffic for inbound and outbound containers, improved during the period under review. Total container traffic increased by 13.6% year-on-year to 74,508 in January 2026, up from 65,594 recorded for a similar period in 2025. Now, Winston, on a month-on-month basis, total container traffic declined by 9.8% compared to 82,624 recorded in December 2025. Winston.
Thank you very much, Pius Kojobaka, for that insight from the March 2026 monetary policy report by the Bank of Ghana. Moving on, the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosue-Jare, has charged beverage manufacturers to consider the use of more local farm produce for their operations. Speaking at the 10th Ghana Beverage Awards in Accra, the minister said government is intensifying effort to support the manufacturing sector with initiatives that will promote Ghanaian businesses.
When local raw materials feed local production, more value stays in Ghana and more jobs are created. That same thinking underpins the agribusiness policy, which has been completed and forwarded to Cabinet for approval. Ghana needs a stronger framework to support agribusiness growth, deepen value addition, and tighten the link between agriculture and industry. When that connection works well, our farmers again will benefit, our factories gain, and the broader economy gains alongside them. Good production, however, is only the beginning. A good product must also be visible, trusted, and chosen. That is why the ministry is intensifying the promotion of Ghanaian goods. In the coming weeks, the Made in Ghana Fair will be revived after a long absence. For businesses in this room, that matters. A strong Ghanaian beverage brand must not only be made, but be made well.
That was Elizabeth Ofosue-Jare, the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. In another development, the 24-hour Economy and Accelerated Export Development Secretariat have partnered with the Chamber of Aquaculture to launch their major initiative aimed at positioning Ghana's aquaculture sector. The move serves as a key driver for industrial growth and export expansion under the 24-hour Economy agenda. The report has more.
The partnership, formalized through a memorandum of understanding, establishes a collaborative framework to develop the Volta River system into a hub for sustainable aquaculture production, value addition and market development. According to the Chamber of Aquaculture, this collaboration aligns with the policy direction of the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Emilia Atta, which prioritizes the sustainable development of the Volta Lake as a cornerstone of the sector's transformation. At the heart of the initiative are two complementary structures designed to create a complete value chain ecosystem. The Volta Lake Blue Economy Aquaculture Park, envisaged as an integrated hub encompassing production, hatcheries, feed supply, processing, cold storage, logistics and market access. The park is intended to serve as a central destination for aquaculture enterprises, providing the infrastructure required to scale operations efficiently.
That was a Newsdesk report. The Ghana CEO Summit has launched its 10th edition for the year 2026. Founder Ernest de Graaf de Ejiri emphasized the summit's vision to position Ghana as a West African hub for executive leadership. He outlined key expectations for the landmark summit scheduled for May 28, 2026. Take a listen.
We have an Africa-centric vision. The summit is not only about Ghana. It's about positioning Ghana as a West African executive leadership hub, investment gateway, and industrial transformation leader, capable of producing globally competitive enterprises. We will have the open plenary session that is focused on execution, accountability, macroeconomic outlook, the CEO Business Case Panel, real business leadership insights on resilience, competitiveness, innovation, and enterprise growth. Then we have the high-level engagement with Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, who will launch the first ever in Ghana, the CEO Government Compact 2026. We have the CEO Excellence Award as the fourth pillar. The fifth is the Business Expo session, a strategic marketplace for innovation.
That was founder of the Ghana CEO Summit, Ernest de Graaf de Ejiri. Now, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority has called for an increase in its funding allocation, requesting that each share of the 0.75% import levy be raised from 10% to 20% to help boost non-traditional export. Speaking at the launch of the 2025 Non-Traditional Export Statistics, Chief Executive Francis Arthur explained that increased resources would allow the authority expand into new markets and better support local exports. The call follows a huge leap in non-traditional export earnings, which grew by 30.7% to $5 billion in 2025.
I am advocating that by virtue of the work I'm doing and in regards to the targets of achieving $10 billion by 2030, I will need more resources, because if 10% has given me 5.06 billion, okay, then what can 20% do? Technically speaking, you see, we have a lot of fairs, a lot of market fairs that we have to expose Ghanaian products to. But because of financial constraints, we have cut some off. We are unable to attend some of the fairs, and we are doing what we can. But we believe that if we have the money and we can appear at all the fairs, certainly the orders will grow, and there will be a resultant increment in the NTE results.
That is Francis Arthur, is the CEO of the Ghana Enterprise Promotion Authority, speaking to us there. And that is where we bring you an end to the business news on Newsnight. And we know there's so much to discuss with Kenneth and Gemma.
Thank you very much, Winston. Musa Abatua in Aswase in the Ashanti region says anyone raising concerns about the EMP takeover of the Diamond Gold Mine without providing clear facts or evidence only exposes their position as being driven by jealousy or political bias. As for the Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy, they have unfortunately undermined their own credibility by relying on opinion rather than verifiable facts. Kojo Kumsin says, we know that Professor Bwedi is a known MPP man, so we should just ignore him. Dede says, the moment the president's brother was awarded a contract, people started reading too many meanings into it as if the deal was wrongfully signed. We need to stop this political interference in the matter. And Ray from Ashalibuche says, please tell the prof to speak with facts and not like a politician. If there is any wrongdoing, they should bring it out. Francis in Accra says, Professor Bwedi should give us a break. In the last 8 years, where was he? Is he only now finding his voice and wanting to be heard on the SHS food supply saga? Why is everyone trying to find a way to take a cut, thereby creating this shortage? Why is the NDC leadership allowing this to happen while in power? They should rise and stop the sabotage within their government. There's more messages. We'll be reading them in due course, but now let's do sports.
So the president of the Ghana Athletics, Bawa Fusaini, has raised concerns over preparations for the upcoming 24th Senior Athletics Championship set to be hosted in Accra. Now, the 5-day event, which is scheduled to take place at the University of Ghana Stadium, is expected to attract top athletes from across Africa competing for the continental honors. Now, with just 3 weeks before the competition begins, Fusaini says delays in securing government authorization for release of funds are affecting final preparations.
We're still waiting for that commitment authorization. For the first time, we're still waiting for that commitment authorization. For the first time that I'm being in athletics, that I became a bit worried and a bit scared that things are going a bit slower. And frankly,
you're worried?
Yes, I'm worried.
Yeah, you're worried, man.
I'm a worried man because the interest that Africa and the world is showing on this championship is amazing. The world president is coming with 3 vice presidents. I've never seen that in my whole life in athletics, that the world athletics president is attending a competition and he's been accompanied by 3 vice presidents. That clearly indicates how serious they've taken this competition. And we do not have the luxury to fail or to organize substandard competition like what happened in Cameroon.
So that's the Ghana Athletics Association President there, Bawa Fusaini. Over to you, Kenneth.
Thank you very much, Benaya. Let's bring you more stories this evening.
Thousands of residents in 5 districts in the Volta region face imminent displacement, with more than 100 coastal communities on the brink of collapse as tidal waves continue to eat away homes, farmlands and livelihoods. The Member of Parliament for Anlo constituency is now warning of a looming humanitarian crisis, urging urgent government intervention to halt the escalating destruction. Speaking on the sidelines of an ongoing tour by the Parliament's Energy Committee, he stressed that without swift action, entire settlements across the coastal belt could be wiped out as the perennial sea erosion intensifies.
Over hundreds of communities within Southton, Angloga, Keta, as well as
Ketu South. And if I'm not mistaken, part of Akachi South will also be affected. If the situation as it is now is not seen to, what is likely to happen is that for Anglogan, we are visualizing that about 50 communities will go off the map if care is not taken now. If you go to Shutdown, other communities that we counted, maybe about 6 or 5 of them may also go off. Likewise, part of Keta, that may include Anyako, Seva, and Ngolopi, Bolova, all may also go off. For Anglogan, which is currently the receiving district, if the situation is not seen to, you are likely to see a challenge where an area that we call the Kome area, which comprises of about 9 communities. That's Koji, Latama, Alakple, Achito, will all go off. Reni will also not be spared. And even sections of Anglogan farmlands will also go off.
Richard Kwame Safa is the Member of Parliament for Anglok constituency. One of the major breakthrough steps to fix the challenge has been a $150 million World Bank fund secured under the West Africa Coastal Area Phase 2 program. But 3 years down the line, the MP says no work has begun.
Since this money was raised, no fiscal project has started. You will hear of workshops, meetings here and there. As we are talking now, workshop is ongoing in Eburi, where they have marshaled our people from all those affected districts, and they are being camped in Eburi for 4 days. We were of the view that if anything at all, if there is going to be any meeting at all, the meeting should be held around the enclaves, where the sea is bashing the coastline, so that they will be able to use that a site visit to appreciate the level or the enormity of the problem. I just want to appeal to the government. Yes, it's my government, it is the people's government, and it's a listening government. But where we have reached now, the chiefs and the people are suffering. We are of the view that enough of the talks, enough of the workshops, enough of the meetings. It is time for us to marshal whatever we have to go and fix the problem once and for all.
In other stories this evening, businesses in sub-parts of the Greater Accra region are facing operational challenges as erratic power supply continues to disrupt the activities, with some owners complaining that the inconsistency is damaging the equipment. We'll hear from Consumer Protection Agency shortly, but first my colleague Miraculous Mercy has been speaking to some of the affected business owners.
Since morning, there is no light, and due to what we are selling, we are having a lot of problems. People come here and complain about the light of issue. We are not getting light for our coastal and then other things. Please, we are suffering. Government, please find a way to help us.
How long has the light been out?
Since morning.
Did you have light yesterday?
No, I learned yesterday there's no light, and today to since morning it comes and then went off again.
By the time we get here, the lights are already off. And even when power is restored, the current is usually low. So if you turn on your fridge, it could get damaged.
Normally, we lose customers and we lost some of our products.
Currently, do you have lights?
We don't have light for now.
How long has the light been out today?
Since morning, the light was off. Since morning, the light was off.
Did you have lights yesterday?
Yesterday, it was on and off.
Okay. At the moment, you don't have lights?
We don't have light for now.
Let's get on to the telephone lines right now and speak to the director of the West Africa Regional Center at CATS International Accra, Appiah Adomako, is calling on government to provide clear communication on the situation and is cautioning against the use of transformer replacements as a cover for the persistent power supply challenges. Welcome to the program. What exactly is your concern with how the authorities are communicating the current power situation to the public?
Good evening and good evening to your listeners. I think government, the ECG has not been very forthright with regards to the main challenge that is confronting. I don't think that all the ECG transformers in the country are due for replacement at the same time. And so if there's any problem, it would be fair for ECG to let Ghanaians know that this is a problem so that people can plan and manage their expectation. I know that ECG doesn't replace transformers over any time after 5 p.m. Transformer replacements start between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So when people go on darkness for 24 hours, you can't use transformers as an excuse. So if there's any problem, it is fair and reasonable for ECG. And I also want to suggest that PRC should also come in and provide a clear timeline, a clear mandate ECG to tell Ghanaians what's the problem. If there is a shortage in generation issues, this is not the first time we've had such a thing. They should tell us so that people will know when they are going to expect light, than to drive or walk to office and for 8 hours you are not having electricity, and you don't know whether you should leave home or you should remain. I think it's very unsettling.
What do you believe is the real issue behind the persistent power outages?
I don't work for ECG, neither do I know their internal issues. But if what they are telling us, but what the credibility in what they are telling us for me is very, very low, because as I said, the transformers in the whole country cannot be, they were not procured in a single day. And neither has the technology changed so much that you have to immediately do a nationwide transformer replacement. I don't think that is the issue. There may be something behind that ECG is not telling us. And I think that consumers require PURC as an independent regulator to also ascertain the issue and tell Ghanaians. If it is I don't think it's a doomsday, any issues, any major challenges. But regardless of how it is, consumers need to know, industries need to know, so that they can plan their production schedule.
Right. Appiah Adomako, thank you very much. He's with CATS International Accra. Gemma, have you been experiencing doomsday lately?
Just once. That was just yesterday. Fortunately, I think other places are worse.
Mine is worse.
Oh, right.
I slept in darkness yesterday. I slept in darkness the night before. On Saturday, we had total darkness.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
From Saturday to Sunday night. 24 whole hours, no light.
Sorry
it came somewhere along the line. It went off again. And thankfully, we have Dr. Charles Ni Ayiku. Ayiku is the General Manager of External Communications at the Electricity Company of Ghana. Dr. Ayiku, welcome to the program. There are concerns that the ECG is hiding behind replacing transformers to take people's lives without explanation. Is that the case? Do I have Dr. Ayiku on the line? Hello, Dr. Ayiku, can you hear me? We have unfortunately lost him on the line there.
Right. Moving on, Ghana's dependence on charcoal and firewood for cooking continues to drive deforestation and increase carbon emissions, worsening the country's climate challenges. But in the Ashanti region, a small innovation is offering a cleaner and more sustainable alternative. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin reports from Yao Nkrumah in the Jabin municipality of the Ashanti region.
Because of hardship, we depend on firewood. This is a small village and there are no nearby shrubs, so we have to go deep into the bush to fetch it.
For 34-year-old Cecilia Yamdao, every meal begins the same way. Some days, she uses charcoal, other days, firewood, sometimes both, depending on what she can afford.
We know that when we cut down trees, it affects Ghana's vegetation and affects the many benefits we get from them. Even when we are told not to cut them down, hardship still forces us to depend on trees.
Cecilia is not alone. Across Ghana, about 76% of households still rely on firewood and charcoal for cooking. Each time these fuels are burnt, carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are released, contributing to changing weather patterns. But just a few houses away, Aisha Ayaba is experiencing something different.
With firewood or traditional charcoal, the smoke is so much that you cannot stay near it. But with clean charcoal, we can sit around it comfortably, which makes it easier to use.
Unlike Cecilia, Aisha now cooks with clean charcoal made from agricultural waste instead of trees.
This story is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with CDKN Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from Claire R4I Opportunities Fund.
That's it for Newsnight. But before we go, though, more of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. Abi National in Wa says there are indications that John Mahama is ready to change the country for the better. John B says Professor Bwedi's point is baseless. He's not showing any evidence to support his position. And this one is from Samuel. He says, is Professor Bwedi saying EMP would not have won the tender if President Mahama had not used his brother's jet? I think some of these politicians, like Professor Bwedi, are behind the CSOs. Philip in North Legon says, tell Professor Bwedi to stop subjecting himself to unnecessary public ridicule. This cheap MPP politics he's doing all over is not good for his caliber. And Nane Kuyamwa Boatin from Ablekuma Central says, I am still shocked about how President Mahama is giving out our mineral resources to his brother Ibrahim Mahama as if he is the only Ghanaian that is capable of operating in the mining sector. Francis from Accra says that sabotage is high at ECG. The political engineers are creating artificial power outages. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.